So talk to us about scaling. So you scaled considerably on most people's scale of scaling. Talk to about some of the challenges or what it was like building a team. Did you have to go through, were you able to kind of hit a home run on getting a perfect team out the front? Was there certain parts of your team you had to replace as you're growing? Kind of talk to us about what that looks like.
Yeah, sure. So the first, I would say 8 to 10 properties I managed myself as far as the rehab. So I would hire a plumber, an electrician, HVAC. So I put that all together. I did graduate with project management. So I was able to, that kind of helped putting all the pieces together. And obviously being part of the mastery group that I'm in, they taught us, what to do first, second, and what prices, what the average prices should be for each one. So I had all that knowledge. So it really helped with me managing. So I did that, I guess there has been, I hired an electrician or two, and I'll just say that nobody's ever screwed me when it came to money. Have people sometimes said they would come and not show up? Yes, that definitely happened. Did people maybe not do the best quality of work? Yes, that certainly did happen, except for in one case where I think I probably lost about $6,000 on a deal because the guy wasn't as good and I had to do the work over again. But I think that's probably my worst experience when it came to rehabbing. And then what I did was I had something, issues with my property here, my own personal property. And I went on thumbtack.com just to find like a handyman. And, this guy came out and he fixed, I actually thought I was going to have to replace a toilet. So I bought a toilet in advance and they had some issues with like the water. And so I was like, okay, well, I think this is going to cost about, $600 or whatever dollars, whatever the case was. So he comes and he actually fixes my toilet pretty quickly. And he fixes everything else pretty quick. I'm like, oh, this is cool. So we were just talking and then I'm like, okay, well, I'm like, I thought I would have to replace the toilet. He's like, no, it was a really small issue. And his honesty is what got to me. I'm like, because anybody else would have been like, could have made more money. And he just, he was really honest. And so I was like, well, what do you do? And we got to talking. He's like, well, I do a little bit for investors here and there. So what I did was I gave him one of my jobs to test them out. I'm like, here, why don't you do this property? So he started with one and he did average. He did, fairly well. Like the work quality was good, but I think he was still kind of new and working with his staff, right? Like his subcontractors. And then I'm like, okay, well, let me give him another one. So I gave him another one and he caught on really quick. Like he did a much better job on the second one. And then from there, like he just kept getting better and better. And he was able to build a team. So he went from like, having a couple subcontractors to building a team of 4 people, all working on my properties. At one point, I think I was working on 7 or 8 properties at once and he was handling those. So that's how I was able to scale up because now he became my GC. So that handyman that I hired through Thumbtack became my GC and, we've been growing since.
That's
and
awesome.
So he actually, at some point, after like the 8th or 9th property, he's like, what are you doing? Where are you getting these properties? Because he sees that, I'm just buying properties left and right. And he's like, I want to do this. I'm like, well, why don't you come join, the seminar that I'm doing? And they just take a look. He's like, okay, well, so he came to a 3-day, the same 3-day that I went to years ago. And he's like, oh, I can really do this. I love this stuff. So he actually ended up becoming an investor as well, but we still work together.
That's great.
Yeah.
Going back to one of the things you said about honesty on the front end, one of the biggest things I have is when whether it be a contractor or whatever, someone tells me they can't do something, like they've already maybe that pisses me off for 2 seconds because I have an immediate need and they can't fulfill it. But like they've already just gained like my like trust factor right there.
Yeah.
Right? When someone turns down business right up front and says, hey, I can't do that for you. Like our immediate reaction is to get upset with them when in reality it's like, oh, I wish more people were like this.
Yeah.
Right. Like exactly. It's the long game of that person can do a lot of good for you. My handyman says no to me a lot. And that's why when he says yes to me, there's no questions asked.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.